hope was a person, that morning it was Adisa. The sun had not even finished climbing the sky, yet she was already standing in front of her brand new shop space, hands on her waist, like a general surveying a battlefield. To the left was a barber shop, to the right was a provision store, and in the middle was her own chop bar, Mama A's Cuisine. Prime location, she told herself. If customers don't see me, then they must be blind. But let me just you. Before this dream was even started, the landlord nearly finished her destiny. 5 years advance rent, as if the shop was in Dubai. Adisa almost fainted. Oga landlord, are you selling the shop with the land? She asked. The man just laughed, scratched his pot belly and said, location be everything, my daughter. Pay, or I'll give it to another. And like every hustler chasing a dream, Adisa carried all her life savings, even the money she had set aside to send Mama's medicine in the village. She packed it and dropped it on his table. One signature later, she became both landlady of Stew and a tenant of Wahala. That morning, as she repainted the walls and arranged the plastic chairs, joy almost carried her away. She could already see it. Ministers licking her goat-like soup, mechanics fighting over extra banku, students snapping selfies with her fried fish. Mama A's Cuisine will shake the street, she declared, raising her wooden spoon like a sword. But the street only smiled quietly, as if it knew a secret she did not. Mama A's Cuisine was dressed like a bride. Fresh curtains, shiny pots, steam rising from the food like invitation to heaven. Adisa wore her best kaba and slit, tied her scarf with confidence, and stood at the door smiling at passers-by. Come and eat, oh, fresh food. Banku that will melt in your tongue like butter. But guess what? People only looked, sniffed, and kept walking. By afternoon, only 2 customers entered, and one was her own cousin who came to support her. The second, a hungry carpenter who, after eating, leaned back and said, can I pay next week Friday? Can you imagine? Adisa watched her jollof rice harden in the pot, watched her goat's meat begin to smell like funeral leftovers. By evening, she was throwing food away. That night, she lay on the floor of her chop bar, calculating. Savings gone, food wasted, only her tears remained. But it didn't stop there. Every day became the same story. The street that had looked so busy before now turned to her like a jealous stepmother. Why? Because every corner already had chop bars older than Methuselah. And those ones, they had loyal customers and most importantly, influencers. Adisa didn't understand the power of social media until she saw a queue outside the joint down the street. She asked one girl, sister, why you dey wait? The girl just raised her phone and said, haven't you seen TikTok? The food here they trend. That evening, Adisa sat alone in her empty shop, staring at her unsold contemporary stew, wondering how she was going to get her food to trend. But that wasn't the only wahala. Her phone kept buzzing. Auntie Comfort, her mother's elder sister. Adisa, your mother's cough has worsened. The nurse says she needs medicine. How far with the money? Each time, Adisa would swallow hard and force a smile into her voice. Auntie, I'm working on it. But truth was, nothing was working. One afternoon, she gathered courage and sent a DM to one popular food blogger. The reply nearly knocked her chair off balance. For a review package, 10,000 CDs. For reels with drone footage, 30,000 CDs. Thanks. Adisa screamed, dropped her phone and started pacing. All this money just for you to eat my food for free and post? She called her apprentice Amma to complain. Come and see this message. Amma, busy chewing groundnuts, only shrugged. Auntie, this one is cheap. Oh. Some even charge in dollars. Adisa almost fainted. That night, lying on her narrow bed, she stared at the ceiling and whispered, God, if you don't send me a helper soon, I'll just come up there and join you. Months later, Adisa met Susie at the market, and from the way the girl was glowing, fresh like she had stepped straight out of a magazine cover, Adisa nearly walked past in shame. But Susie screamed, Adisa, don't you see me? Adisa hadn't seen Susie since secondary school. Back then, Susie was the one who couldn't even afford lunch, always begging Adisa to share her gari. Now, she looked like somebody's rich auntie from abroad. They hugged and exchanged numbers. A few weeks later, Susie called. Ish, Adi, so if I don't call, you won't call? They jested about old schoolmates, laughed about teachers. But the moment Susie asked, so how's business? Adisa broke down. She poured everything. The wasted savings, influencers' ransom fees, her mother's sickness, food spoiling in the pot. And Susie, she burst out laughing. Adisa, you think people are doing business with their clear eyes? My sister, it be packaging and juju they run this town. Adisa froze. Susie, I beg, don't ever use juju and my name in the same sentence. But let's be honest. When hunger and shame are chasing you, your ears suddenly become flexible. So when Susie said, meet me tomorrow night, I'll show you where success lives, Adisa carried her legs like borrowed ladder and followed. They entered the forest, the kind where crickets sound like gossiping aunties. Adisa's chest was beaten, louder than Agbaja drums at a funeral. She whispered, Susie, if they use me for sacrifice, tell my mother I tried though. From the shadows, an old woman appeared. Her back bent like she was carrying the entire village secrets. Without Adisa saying a word, the woman hissed, you poured your savings into rent. Your mother coughs and waits. Your food spoils daily. And you want customers, Abi? Adisa gasped. How did you know? The old woman handed her a small clay pot. Inside, lizards were swimming in a strange black liquid. Her voice crackled like dry leaves. Sprinkle this liquid in your chop bar. Use it as salt in your food, always at the last step. And then, finally, bury these lizards in the middle of your shop. And every evening, pour the water customers use to wash their hands into this pot. It will never get full, but the day you skip one step, she stopped. Her eyes glowed faintly. The spirits will collect their debt. Adisa's hand shook as she held the pot. Susie only smiled, her gold teeth flashing in the moonlight. Congratulations, Mama A. Your cuisine is about to blow. When Adisa reached home that night, she didn't joke. She followed the old woman's instructions like her life depended on it. She bent down, cutlass in hand, digging through her shop floor like she was planting cocoa. Sweat poured, her back ached, but finally she buried those wriggling lizards in the very heart of the shop bar. The next day, Adisa cooked with fear and faith mixing in one pot. And when it reached that final moment, Adisa suddenly changed her voice. Everybody out! Apprentice out! You think you can steal my recipe? Oh yeah, leave! One sprinkle of that spirit salt and Mama A's cuisine changed overnight. Adisa, who just yesterday was crying over leftover consummate stew, now became the darling of the whole city. From the first minister's convoy to the last shoeshine boy, everybody wanted a taste. Some people didn't even come because of hunger. They just wanted to say, I too chopped at Mama A's. And the influencers, the same ones who were charging her house rent in the name of review package. Now, they were rushing to post her food for free before their rivals beat them to it. Adisa's life sweetened like sugar in hot tea. She even started speaking with a small accent. Excuse me, do you have a reservation? No? Kindly wait outside. But inside her bedroom, one thing remained the same. That clay pot. Every night, she poured in basin after basin of greasy hand wash water used by the customers. But the pot never got full. Never. And anytime her eye accidentally met the clay pot, her chest would tighten. She would remember the old woman's warning. The day you skip one step, the spirits will collect their debt. She would whisper nervously, God, I hope the spirits are not like my landlord though, collecting money without pity. But with time, her fear melted quickly into joy. Her chop bar had turned from ghost town to carnival ground. She would strut in front of her mirror and declare, I, Adisa, owner of Mama A's cuisine. I'm officially the queen of chop bars. Mama A's cuisine was the place to be, full to the brim like trotro at rush hour. Customers laughed, bowls clanged, meat bones cracked, but inside the kitchen was another story. Every time food reached that final stage, Hadisa's face would change. She would chase her apprentices out. The girls would roll their eyes muttering, Madame thinks she be Gordon Ramsay, but they dared not disobey. With each passing day, Adisa grew more paranoid. She couldn't afford to skip one step. One day, poor Amaoli sneezed. Achoo! Near the pot of cooking jollof. Before the poor girl could say sorry, Adisa screamed like someone had poured pepper in her eyes. Out, out, out of my kitchen! You want to sneeze away my destiny? Amma froze, ladle still in hand. But madam, I only sneezed. Then go and sneeze in your mother's soup. Adisa bagged, pushing Amma out of the kitchen and slamming the door so hard the pots rattled. Soon, the apprentices started gossiping. Some even swore they saw her pouring some glowing liquid into the stew. Hey, this our madam. She is cooking with juju spices, so they would say chuckling. Adisa heard the whispers, but she raised her chin and told herself, suspicions don't kill anybody. But empty chop bar, that one will kill faster than poison. And so, Adisa cooked with fear behind her laughter, praying no one would ever catch her secrets in full daylight. But sometimes what he feared the most doesn't knock. It just barges in without warning. One hot afternoon, Mama A's kitchen was hotter than a Sunday revival. Customers queued outside, sweat pouring, but nobody left. Adisa, as usual, was outside playing politician, laughing with her people, shouting, Don't worry, my Monday special ampesi is almost ready. Just small patience, you will lick your fingers today. Meanwhile, inside the kitchen, firewood roared, yam babbled, steam fogged the air. Amma, the self-appointed head apprentice, who was always feeling too wise for her age, lifted the pot lid. She forked out a piece of yam, blew on it, and chewed. Then she hissed, this one is plain yam. Madam and her wahala. Yam is yam. You boil yam, you add salt. Finish. All this secret recipe matter. The other apprentices exchanged quick glances, their hands frozen mid-stir. Before anyone could stop her, Amma grabbed the old salt bowl Adisa had abandoned months ago and flung a heavy handful into the pot. Hey, Amma, Madame said, one girl whispered. Amma cut her short with sharp eyes. Keep quiet. Who here knows how to cook better than me? This is how we were doing it before you all came. They all fell silent. After all, who could fight Amma? She was too known, always talking as if she was Adisa's deputy. Minutes later, Adisa stormed in, stacked them with her usual clap of hands, and performed her secret ritual without knowing. She stared, sprinkled the strange liquid, but then Amma's salt had already rewritten the recipe of her life. That night, Adisa went to bed with a full belly and a fuller pocket, smiling at her reflection. Queen of chop bars, Mama A herself. But in her sleep, the celebration turned to horror. The chop bar walls melted like wax around her. Lizards, dozens, no, hundreds, crawled onto her bed. Their eyes glowed red like fireflies from hell. Their tails whipped the air as they hissed in unison. You did not pay us. Instead, you punished us with salt. We shall collect our debt. Adisa jolted awake, drenched in sweat, heart pounded like someone was drumming a funeral dirge in her chest. Adisa shook her head violently. Just a bad dream. After all, have I not been faithful? Which ritual have I skipped? None. She spat on the ground and laughed to herself. Nonsense. When you get full, you can dream more. By afternoon, Mama A's cuisine was buzzing like a market square. Apprentices dashed up and down with trays, sweat dripping, mouth shouting orders. Adisa, with her usual swagger, tied her wrapper tight, wiped her face with the end, and bagged. Add more pepper to that man's food. He looks like his life needs fire. The crowd exploded in laughter. Adisa grinned, her teeth flashing like a campaign poster. Everything seemed normal until A scream sliced through the air. One man, halfway through his banku and tilapia, jumped to his feet, chair tumbling backwards. Jesus Christ of Nazareth, he shouted, his finger pointing and trembling at his plate. Head swiveled, mouth opened. There in the pepper sauce, a fat black lizard twisted and wriggled, its tail smacking the side of the bowl as if it had been freshly dragged from a gutter. Ah! Blood of Jesus, the man bellowed, flinging the bowl, banku, fish, pepper, all scattered on the floor. Before people could blink, another scream came from the corner. A woman, chewing meat with satisfaction, suddenly spat it into her palm. Everyone leaned closer and saw a lizard's head, its eyes wide, teeth bared, staring back like it refused to die. The chop bar exploded. Plates flew. Children wailed. Women clutching their chests. A man bolted through the door shouting, "Lizard woman, Madam Adisa has joined the cult." The apprentices themselves shrieked, covering their mouths as if lizard tails might burst out of their tongues. And Adisa, she stood rooted, wrapper shaking around her waist, hands trembling. Her eyes darted from table to table. Everywhere she looked, lizards were crawling, lizards of every size, some thin and green, others fat and black, wriggling, swimming, twisting inside people's bowls. Then, as quickly as they had appeared, they were gone. There was silence. Over 10 chairs, filled soup and stews, trembling apprentices, but the damage was done. Already, whispers were running like wildfire outside the chop bar. "Lizard, madame!" Adisa staggered back against the wall, chest heaving. Her heart drummed so loudly, she could hear it in her ears. Her lips quivered as she whispered to herself, "Hey Adisa, is this how my story ends?" By the next week, Adisa couldn't step outside without hearing whispers trailing her like flies. "Lizzie, madame, Lizzie, madame." Children pointed. Women crossed the street when they saw her. Men spat on the ground when she passed. Her once bustling chop bar sat empty, only flies buzzing over forgotten chairs. The apprentices had all vanished overnight. Even her landlord, who once licked his fingers after eating her apaprensa, stormed in, slapped a quick notice on her wall and thundered, "Carry your juju and lizards away from my property." Restless, broken and finished, Adisa tied a scarf around her head and slipped into the forest once more. She fell to her knees before the old woman, her voice hoarse with tears. "Please, I beg you, release me. I'll do anything. Just take the disgrace away." The old woman was silent for a long, heavy moment. Then her cracked voice slid into the air. "Debt must be paid. The spirit said you fed them salt." Adisa's eyes widened. "Please, I didn't put salt. It was one stupid apprentice. Please beg them for me, eh?" But the woman's eyes burned like dying coals. Her voice chilled the trees. "There's no release. Your name will remain, but your body will go." The ground trembled beneath Adisa's knees. A cold wind wrapped around her waist like invisible hands. She screamed, clawing at the soil, but before her cry reached the treetops, she was gone. No clothes, no slippers. There was no trace. Back in town, Mama A's cuisine was the hottest gossip. Some swore the lizards had carried her away. Others whispered she had turned into one herself and now slid through the gutters of Accra at midnight. Nobody ever knew. Her disappearance remained a mystery, and the elders concluded with a warning. Be careful the shortcuts you take for success. A debt unpaid will always collect. Sometimes in money, sometimes in disgrace, and sometimes in your very soul. Hi fam, click the link on the right to dive into yet another captivating tale. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification button. Until next time, it's bye from us at Apenthene African Stories.